Imagine for a second that you are completely alone. You are standing in the middle of a dense forest. It is 1941. The world is on fire. You don't have a bazooka. You don't have a platoon of soldiers backing you up. You don't even have a loaded machine gun in your hands. All you have is a simple wooden-handled axe used for chopping firewood. Suddenly, the earth begins to tremble. The birds stop singing. A 50-ton monster of steel and destruction rolls out of the trees. A German panzer tank. It stops 5 feet away from you. Its cannon is pointing at your chest. Its machine guns are ready to turn you into mist. Most men would run. Most men would freeze. But Ivan Sereda did not run. He tightened his grip on his axe and charged. This is not a scene from a Marvel movie. This is the insane true story of the cook who declared war on a tank and won. To truly understand the madness of this moment, we have to look at the man holding the axe. Ivan Pavlovich Sereda wasn't a Rambo figure. He wasn't trained in special operations or anti-tank warfare. He was a 22-year-old cook in the 91st Tank Regiment of the Red Army. His weapon was a ladle, not a rifle. His duty was sacred but simple: keep the men fed. In the brutal conditions of the Eastern Front, a hot bowl of cabbage soup was the only thing keeping soldiers going. Ivan was a big man, strong from lifting heavy sacks of flour and chopping wood, but he was known for his gentle nature. He was the guy who made sure you had an extra piece of bread. He was the heart of the camp. No one expected him to be the tip of the spear. The date was August 1941. The location was a forest near Dvinsk in Latvia. This was the darkest time for the Soviet Union. Hitler's Operation Barbarossa had caught them off guard. The German war machine was crushing everything in its path, advancing hundreds of miles a week. The Red Army was in a chaotic retreat. Dust, fire, and confusion were everywhere. Ivan's unit was ordered to move to the front line to try and plug a gap in the defenses, but the field kitchen, a heavy trailer pulled by horses, was too slow to keep up with the tanks. The commander gave Ivan a simple order: stay here in the forest, hide the kitchen, keep the soup boiling. We will return by nightfall. So the regiment moved out, leaving Ivan behind. The forest went quiet. For a few hours it was peaceful. Ivan went about his work. He chopped wood. He peeled potatoes. He checked the horses. He was humming a tune, perhaps thinking about his family back home. He was completely isolated. His only protection was an old carbine rifle resting against the wheel of the kitchen trailer and his axe. He felt safe. He believed the Germans were miles away, fighting his comrades at the front. He had no idea that the German army often sent small tank units, scouts, to flank around the sides and find weak spots, and Ivan was sitting right in their path. It started as a vibration in his boots, then the sound of snapping branches, then the distinct mechanical growl of diesel engines. Ivan looked up from his potato peeling. Through the thick tree trunks, he saw them. 2 German tanks. They were panzers, painted in the gray field colors of the Wehrmacht. They were rolling slowly, their commanders scanning the woods for trouble. Ivan's blood ran cold. He was a sitting duck. If he ran, they would machine gun him down. If he stayed, they would crush him. He grabbed his rifle and ducked behind the kitchen trailer, his heart hammering against his ribs like a drum. The first tank passed by the clearing, disappearing into the deeper woods, but the second tank slowed down. Why? Because of the smell. The wind carried the scent of Ivan's boiling soup right to the Germans. To a hungry tank crew who had been eating cold rations for weeks, that smell was irresistible. The tank crunched to a halt just a few yards from the kitchen. The engine idled. The heavy steel hatch on the turret clanked open. The German commander popped his head out. To his crew, he thought he had found an abandoned camp. He thought it was free lunch. He had no idea he was looking at a trap. Ivan watched the German officer, laughing. He saw them disrespecting his kitchen, his unit, his country. In that split second, the fear evaporated. It was replaced by a cold, burning rage. Ivan Sereda didn't reach for his rifle. He grabbed the axe he had been using for firewood. With a roar that sounded like a wild bear, he sprinted from behind the trailer. The German commander froze. He expected a squad of soldiers, not a lone giant with an axe charging at him. Panic took over. The commander ducked back inside the tank and slammed the hatch shut, but he was too slow to lock it. Ivan leaped onto the metal hull of the tank. Now, the situation was chaotic. Ivan was standing on top of a moving tank. The Germans inside were terrified. They started firing the tank's machine gun wildly, hoping to hit the maniac on their roof. Ivan knew that machine gun was death. If the turret turned just a few inches, he would be cut in half. So he swung the axe. Clang! He struck the barrel of the machine gun. Clang! He hit it again with superhuman strength. The heavy steel of the axe bit into the metal of the gun. One more strike, and the barrel bent. The gun jammed. He had disarmed the tank. But the tank crew began spinning the turret, trying to shake him off like a rodeo bull. Ivan held on for dear life. He knew a tank is powerful, but it has a weakness. It is blind. The crew relies on small glass periscopes and vision slits to see the outside world. Ivan grabbed a piece of heavy canvas tarp that was strapped to the back of the turret. He threw it over the front viewing ports. Then he took his axe and smashed the remaining glass periscopes. Crack! Inside the tank, the world went black. The German crew was now trapped in a dark metal box with a madman pounding on the roof. The sound inside must have been deafening, every strike of the axe echoing like a bell. This is where Ivan proved he wasn't just brave, he was a genius. He knew he couldn't break into the tank with just an axe. He had to convince the Germans to come out. He started stomping his heavy boots on the roof, making it sound like multiple men were boarding the tank. He screamed commands to an imaginary squad in the forest. "Grenadiers, surround them! Anti-tank mines to the left! Smash them with the hammer! Do not let them escape!" He yelled at the top of his lungs. He picked up his rifle and fired shots into the armor, creating the illusion of a heavy attack. Inside the tank, the crew of 4 was hyperventilating. They were blind. Their main weapon was broken. They believed they were surrounded by an entire Soviet platoon that was preparing to blow them up with mines. The psychological pressure broke them. The engine sputtered and died. The hatch slowly squeaked open. A white cloth waved in the air. Ivan jumped down, grabbed his rifle, and aimed it at the opening. One by one, 4 elite German tankers climbed out with their hands raised. When they hit the ground and looked around, their jaws dropped. There was no platoon. There were no mines. Just one cook, covered in soot, holding an axe. Ivan didn't waste a second. He ordered them to lie on the ground. He used a coil of rope to tie their hands together. He marched them over to the kitchen trailer and made them sit down at gunpoint. Then the adrenaline started to fade, and Ivan remembered his duty. The soup! He checked the pot. It had boiled over a little, but it was still good. He stirred it, tasted it, and added a little salt. For the next hour he sat there, guarding 4 Nazi prisoners while finishing dinner. It was a scene so ridiculous that if you wrote it in a fiction book, no one would believe it. As the sun began to set, the 91st Regiment returned from the front lines. They were tired, hungry, and covered in dirt. They entered the clearing and stopped dead in their tracks. There was a German panzer tank parked next to their kitchen. They raised their weapons, ready to fight. But then they saw Ivan. He waved at them. "Soup is ready, comrades," he said. The commander walked up, looked at the tied-up Germans, looked at the tank with the tarp over it, and asked, "Sereda, what happened here?" Ivan simply shrugged and said, "I cooked, and I caught some Germans." At first they thought he was joking, but the evidence was right there. The soldiers gathered around the tank. They ran their fingers over the deep gashes in the metal armor made by the axe. They saw the machine gun barrel bent at a useless angle. They saw the terrified look in the eyes of the prisoners. The story of the mad cook spread through the regiment instantly. The commander realized that a man with this kind of courage was wasted in the kitchen. Ivan was immediately promoted. He traded his ladle for binoculars. He became a scout for the Red Army. This wasn't just a one-time stroke of luck. Ivan Sereda proved he was a true warrior. Just weeks later, while scouting, he found another German tank firing on his friends. This time, he didn't have an axe. He crawled up to the tank, climbed on it again, and dropped a cluster of grenades down the hatch, destroying it. He fought in the siege of Leningrad and the Battle of Moscow. By the end of the war, in 1945, the cook who started with an axe was a lieutenant. He was awarded the Hero of the Soviet Union, the Order of Lenin, and the Order of the Red Star, the highest honors a soldier could receive. Ivan Sereda survived the war, but the toll on his body was heavy. He passed away in 1950 at the young age of 31, but his legacy is immortal. His story teaches us a powerful lesson. Technology, armor, and weapons are important, but they are nothing compared to the human spirit. The German tank crew had the best engineering in the world, but they lacked the one thing Ivan had, the refusal to give up. So, the next time you feel overwhelmed, remember the Russian cook. Remember that sometimes all you need to defeat a monster is a rusty axe and a heart of steel. If you enjoyed this incredible true story, hit that like button and subscribe for more untold history. Until next time.